All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Ephraim. Today's date is January 15th, 2023. And I want to welcome all my new subscribers, new and older alike. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and select all. That way you'll be notified every time I upload a new presentation. I want to thank you all for your continued support, continuing to engage and like the videos and comment. And I will continue to engage as much as possible as the channel continues to build really well so far in 2023. So we're going to keep that moving. All right. This is more so a thinking out loud segment, more so than it is a teaching segment, right? Because many of you who know me or know of my background know that I have several actual degrees. I'm an adjunct professor. I teach college, human resources management. But I've dealt with a lot of, throughout grad school and just a lot of personal research. I've dealt with a lot of theories, right? You have to figure I've written countless papers. I've actually graded countless papers, whatever. But I've always been really intrigued with certain things throughout my evolution in life. Just kind of going through my little journey. And that's the one thing about me. I've always I'm the consummate learner, right? I mean, yes, I'm an educator, right? But I love to teach, but I also love to be taught and to be enlightened as well. I'm a firm believer in healthy dialogue, and in the exchange of information. Now, of course, that it could be a fine line between exchanging healthy information and just talking about a bunch of uh, conspiracy theories or things that you can't really measure or prove or peer review, even, if you will, right? So I try to stay away from that. All that being said, one of the things that I was always really fascinated with was this thing called it's a somewhat of a phenomena. It's called the butterfly effect, right? And I'm going to get into it. That's really a part of what's called the chaos theory. But now, for many of you who clicked on this video, you've seen the title. You know exactly what the butterfly effect is, right? But I'm gonna try to keep it as lay as I can. So, in lay terms, right, the butterfly effect. Why one of the reasons why I've always been so fascinated with it is because basically what it says is that you could take something very small, right, and and change it or do something differently, and it could change the whole trajectory of something else on a much bigger scale. For example, let's deal with it like this. I remember, I don't know if many of you are familiar or fans of the Twilight Zone, but I was a real big Twilight Zone fan. I still kind of go through my little binges to this day of the Twilight Zone, and it had this one episode where there's basically this man. He invented this time machine. And so basically, a lot of the major events that happened in history, he wanted to go back in time and see if he could have a butterfly effect moment where he could go back and change one small thing, and basically it would change like history. So now, keep in mind, with that being said, as intriguing as that sounds, that's strictly theoretical, right? Because we know there's no such thing as time travel. However, I just thought I was very fascinated to see it play out. So he went through history and everything, and he tried to. It's like he tried to have his butterfly effect moments throughout history, but it's almost like history wouldn't allow him to do it because it was already written in stone. If y'all followed me, right? But it was fun though. It was fun and it was intriguing. It was exciting, that he went in history and tried to basically change the course of human history. And that reminds me of the Superman thing. I think it was Superman 1 or 2 when he got mad. He was crying because Lois Lane died in the thing, and he was crying. He put out a super yell, and he wanted to change the course of human history. He was trying to he basically reversing the world. He was flying so fast and superhuman speed to reverse the course. And his father came and said, "Look, you can't do this, man. Like you can't change the course of human history." And he stopped for a minute. He was like, "Oh man, I'm tripping." But then I guess his love for Lois Lane kept him going though, and he was like, man, I ain't trying to hear none of that. So he started going all super speed around, like reversing the world. That in a sense is a form of the butterfly effect, because actually in that movie, Superman movie, he actually ended up, reversing, changing the course of the world. What happened, because he brought her back to life basically by doing that. But anyway, so that was pretty cool. But that's in a nutshell, that was a form of the butterfly effect. Now I'm going to get more into the kind of scientific, theoretical phase of it. And I said, when we start talking about ASMR, which is really popular, and that stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, and it's a term used to describe a tingling, static-like sensation in response to certain audio or visual stimuli. So what I wanted to kind of do is put that in connection, in comparison to, not really comparison, but the butterfly effect. Um, Again, this is strictly in theory, because we know there's no such thing as time travel. But I'd like to ask you this, ask all of you who are listening to this, give me a butterfly effect moment from your life. Um, if you'd have changed one thing, what would it have been, and how it could or would have affected your life right now today? I mean, at the very least, it's fun, right? But I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna share mine. Definitely, my butterfly effect moment. If I could go back in time and change one small thing, there's one small thing that I would change. The whole trajectory of my life would be completely different. I mean, one small thing, man. That's the phenomena of the butterfly effect, in chaos theory. So let's go ahead and get into the actual lesson and have a little fun. Those of you who are interested in this, of course, continue to follow along, and those of you who aren't familiar, just continue to follow along, listen, and get kind of turned on to something new, if you will. But I've always been extremely intrigued with the butterfly effect. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, in chaos theory, the butterfly effect is the sensitive dependence on initial conditions in which a small change in one state of a deterministic nonlinear system can result in large differences in a later state. Now, before I go any further, let me go ahead and kind of define and get into what chaos theory is. Okay, chaos theory is an interdisciplinary area of scientific study and a branch of mathematics focused on underlying patterns and deterministic laws of dynamical systems that are highly sensitive to initial conditions and were once thought to have completely random states of disorder and irregularities. Chaos theory states that within the apparent randomness of chaotic complex systems, there are underlying patterns, interconnection, constant feedback loops, repetition, self-similarity, fractals, and self-organization. The butterfly effect is an underlying principle of chaos, and it describes how a small change in one state of a deterministic nonlinear system can result in the large differences in a later state, meaning that there is a sensitive dependence on initial conditions. A metaphor for this behavior is that a butterfly flapping its wings in Brazil can cause a tornado in Texas. Small differences in initial conditions, such as those due to errors in measurements or due to rounding errors in numerical computation, and it can yield widely diverging outcomes for such dynamical systems, rendering long-term prediction of their behavior impossible in general. Now, this can happen even though these systems are deterministic, meaning that their future behavior follows a unique evolution and is fully determined by their initial conditions with no random elements involved. In other words, the deterministic nature of their future behavior follows a unique evolution and is fully determined by their initial conditions with no random elements involved. And these systems do not make them predictable. This behavior is known as deterministic chaos, or simply chaos. The theory was summarized by Edward Lorenz, Okay, so that's chaos theory in a nutshell as it relates to the butterfly effect. So back to the butterfly effect. The term is closely associated with the work of mathematician and meteorologist Edward Norton Lorenz. Now, just let me just say this real quick. I made the reference to the butterfly effect in terms of from a theoretical standpoint, going back in time, because we know there's no such thing as time travel. But the butterfly effect is not confined to just having to go back in time. Just let me be clear with that, okay? I don't want anyone to misunderstand or misconstrue me using it. I just to me, what's more fascinating to me is kind of, I guess it's the human part of me going back in time and having my butterfly effect moment, because I swear I wish time travel was real. It was a thing, because I swear to God I would go back and my life would be completely different right now. But anyway, that's that. Um, Back on the butterfly effect, the idea that small causes may have large effects in weather was earlier recognized by French mathematician and engineer Henri Poincaré. American mathematician and philosopher Norbert Wiener also contributed to this theory. Lorenz's work placed the concept of instability of the Earth's atmosphere onto a quantitative base and linked the concept of instability to the properties of large classes of dynamic systems, which are undergoing nonlinear dynamics and deterministic chaos. The butterfly effect concept has since been used outside the context of weather science as a broad term for any situation where a small change is supposed to be the cause of larger consequences. Now, to those of you who aren't really familiar with terms like quantitative or qualitative, those are terms used for researchers, at the graduate level of education in school. A quantitative analysis is quantitative is something that can be measured. It's numbers based. um, it's something that can be measured, right? You take data, collect data, you compare the data. That's a quantitative analysis. Anytime you have a group of numbers that represent something, or a group of people, or whatever it is, that's quantitative. A qualitative analysis is when basically it's what you can see with your eyes, what you can, you know, which you yourself can witness. A qualitative analysis is just that, and it's not based on anything numerical. It's based on the data that you can actually see or experience personally. And that's the whole difference between a quantitative and a qualitative analysis. A quantitative you can measure. Qualitative not so much. So a qualitative analysis is a lot more subjective, right? Because what's the old saying? Men lie, women lie, but numbers don't, right? So there are a lot of people who are real big on quantitative analysis. Me myself, I see value in both. When I was going through grad school, and even as an educator, I see value in both quantitative and qualitative analysis, right? But by nature, I'm more of a qualitative person than quantitative. I'm not so big on numbers. But anyway, that's that. That's kind of one I wanted to give a definition. You hear that term a lot, quantitative or even qualitative, what it means. That's really used in academia, among uh, grad students, or doctoral students, whatever the case may be. So that's that. All right. Now, hold on. Let me see here. Y'all give me 1 second. Okay, what I don't want to do, I don't want to turn this into something a lot more, complex than what I want it to be. I'm not going to get into quantum physics and all this kind of stuff. I'm not going to do all that. But I have to say that the butterfly effect is most familiar in terms of weather. All right. And it can easily be demonstrated in standard weather prediction models. For example, the climate scientists James Annan and William Connolly explained that chaos is important in the development of weather prediction methods. Models are sensitive for initial conditions. So that's why I said that I don't want to make it to give the impression that the butterfly effect was regulated to things that happened in the past, or time travel. It just makes it more fascinating for me. Like I shared that Twilight Zone episode. It really was fascinating. Um, But really, yeah, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna keep it real lay in terms of the butterfly effect. Changing one small thing. For me personally, um, my butterfly effect moment, man, would probably go into. I'm just being honest here. I ain't even trying to be funny. I'm being so for real. Um, my then girlfriend, we had broken up. She was I was a senior in high school, and she was a freshman in college, and she had came home for Christmas break. And when she came home, we actually weren't together. And because she broke up with me before she went to college because she felt like I wasn't giving her the attention she wanted or whatever the case may be. And I was okay with it. I was like, okay, cool. She broke up with me. Well, when she came back home, um, she calls me up and I'm like, okay, hey, what's up? What you want kind of thing. And she's all, well, she wanted me to come down and talk to her because she felt like, we didn't really have any closure. And I'm like, well, we don't have to do that. I mean, you broke up with me. So, I mean, it's all good. I ain't even tripping. Right. So anyway, she just said, well, she just wanted to say what she wanted to say and be done with it. So that way in her mind, she can have closure. Right. And so long story short, I go down there to see her and, she said what she had to say. And then the conversation shifted. Next thing I know, she's seducing me. And next thing I know, we having sex. Right. So I didn't plan that. I honestly didn't. I had no idea. I mean, maybe I was just young and naive. I don't know, but I don't know if she had that in her mind the whole time. I don't know. I really don't know. I just wasn't planning on anything happening with her romantically like that. But anyway, um, I mean, hey, we did. It happened, and I really didn't think much about it. You know, and about 2, 3 months later, I get a letter, saying she's pregnant. And I'm like, man, you got to be freaking kidding me. So anyway, my I'm not gonna get into my life, everything I went through, since that. But if I can go back in time, my butterfly effect moment would be when she called me and that phone was ringing. I wouldn't have picked up. I would not have answered. As simple as that. Like I would not have answered. I just wouldn't have. That phone call changed the trajectory of my whole complete life, man. It's crazy, right? That one for me taking the phone call, answering, hello, that changed my whole life. That's crazy, and that's what's so fascinating about the butterfly effect. One small, seemingly non-important thing can affect something so drastic and grand down the line, or whatever the case may be. Like I said, we're not getting into the whole, physicist aspect of it and getting all deep because it is mathematical equations and all that, with it. I want to keep it just more conversational in terms of the butterfly effect, right? People can relate to it more from that. Anybody trying to listen to a bunch of mathematical this and physics this and all that. Anybody doing all that. But that'd be my butterfly effect more. If I can go back in time, that's exactly what I would do. Um, that would have changed the whole trajectory of my life. I just would not have taken that phone call. Not at all. But then again, had I not taken that phone call, maybe I'm not talking to you all right now. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? That's the fascinating thing about it. Like, I mean, something so small. Like people don't answer their phone every day, but you never know what not answering your phone could mean, though, down the line in a much bigger picture. And therein lies the power and the fascination for me with the butterfly effect. Now, in terms of, hold on one second. So then the question is, can this phenomena actually trigger something like, ASMR? I mean, you know, who's to know? I mean, you got doctors and scientists to conduct these studies, right? Well, what triggers ASMRs, right? Because not everyone experiences that. So you'd have to say that's kind of a, you know, somewhat of a phenomena, if not everyone or majority of people experience that feeling, right? So, and the question is, well, does ASMR work or does ASMR help? That's not a simple question to even answer. But the first peer-reviewed study published in 2015 and another in 2018 showed that people who experienced ASMR had reduced heart rate while watching ASMR videos, and the reduction was comparable to other relaxation methods. ASMR community public forum discussions have suggested that inducing ASMR could potentially help to relieve symptoms like stress or chronic pain. Others are hopeful ASMR may offer therapeutic potential in the future, possibly as a tool to ease insomnia, depression, or anxiety symptoms. If the question is, does ASMR stimuli provoke a physiological response in brain activity and in the body, then yes, there is some empirical evidence that it does, said David E. Warren, PhD, University of Nebraska Medical Center, neuroscience researcher. Based on his reading a publication on ASMR, is there empirical evidence that ASMR reliably changes mood or has lasting effects on mental health? No, there is not. There have not been large-scale clinical trials demonstrating inefficacy of ASMR stimuli for those important mental health attributes. While there is growing interest in ASMR these days, the fact remains that there are still relatively few scientific studies conducted to date, including studies on the conditions of rather the phenomena such as the butterfly effect can actually have a trigger on ASMR episodes and states. While the experience may include a genuine physiological response, much more scientific research is needed to begin to understand the nature of the ASMR phenomenon. Now, whoever thought to put that together? That's extremely interesting. I mean, you're talking about two complex themes of something, cause and effect. I mean, physiologically, I mean, just human nature, just the study of human behavior, even. Rather from a psychological standpoint or a physiological standpoint. I mean, it's all fascinating, man. I mean, like I said, you have these doctors and scientists and physiologists that conduct all these tests and this and that. But at the end of the day, it's a theory, okay? Sometimes the theory can be proven, sometimes not. So that's why you want to with items like that, you want to stick to peer review. What that means is you want to get information from scholars, from doctors, from specialists in that particular area of study. When we start talking about autonomous issues or autonomous sensory meridian responses, ASMR, this famed butterfly effect, yeah, you all would be surprised just how intricate a lot of this stuff is. I personally wanted to keep it, kind of, just for the novice to kind of follow along. I didn't want to get too deep, but I wanted to kind of, and I still want you all to kind of list your butterfly effect moment. You know, if you could change one small, seemingly insignificant thing, throughout your life, from your past, what would it be? And what do you think? What do you think that would have done for your life right now today? Changing that one small thing, man. Anyway, that's that, man. I want to kind of just, I don't want to get boring and deep with it, but I just kind of want to touch on it, whatever, and put it out there and give y'all something to talk about. All right, so y'all go ahead and jump in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Hopefully y'all got something from the lesson. At the very least, y'all was intrigued with it. And drop your butterfly effect moment in the comments, man. And again, be respectful of everyone. Everyone has different opinions and there's different backgrounds and everything and all that. Just be respectful of everyone. Don't and it's all good. All right. So until next time, this is Dr. Ephraim signing off, saying Shalom, everyone.